Want to know what's going on in Belvedere, Illinois, or around the world? Then tune to BNNSradio.com on your computer or your mobile device and give us a listen. That's BNNSradio.com. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and guest do not necessarily reflect those of this station, the station's network, any other affiliates under this network, or its sponsors. Unless they do, and then we'll totally take credit for them, because this is radio, and that's how we roll.
Here we go.
News, sports, comedy, politics, everything you would expect in a morning show. Faster than the fastest nightmare. Brighter than the dullest dream.
Right here.
Right now. The Morning Show with Uncle Bill. Grab your coffee and hang on. For the next 2 hours, the unexpected will haunt you, entertain you, and drive you absolutely insane. So let's get started. Here's Uncle Bill.
Well, are you ready? Well, I guess we're ready now. The FM station's not working right, or the computer's not working right. So if your sound goes out several times today, just chalk it up. Stay with us. Just keep refreshing. That's all you have to do. It's not in your computer. It's just in the software, and I've got IT working on it, and they will be... Hopefully, we get the problem solved today. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. Good morning and welcome to the morning show. Welcome to my studio audience who is out here all fired up this morning and ready to go. And today is going to be Queer Day. I'm just sorry. I'm going to lay it on the line, just like it's about time. This political correct crap has got to stop. I'm really sick and tired of the political correctness. And if LGBTQ want to be called queers, then that's what I'm going to call them, queers. They're queers. And today we're going to talk a lot about queers, and maybe we'll touch a little bit on what happened over in Virginia, Charlottesville. Deliberate accident, whatever, it's all going to come to a head sooner or later, folks, at some point. North Korea, China, Russia, who knows what the hell's going on, because we're being fed so much crap nowadays, and we're led to believe so much idiocy that everybody's just walking around in a daze like they either just don't give a crap or they don't have a clue. One or the other. And until people start getting off their dead butts and start doing something about it and start speaking up. For example, it took 20,000 signatures to get city streets repainted. Did you know that? So it doesn't take too many voices to get things going. That's less than the people of Belvedere. That's less than the number of people that are in Belvedere. Can get an entire major city to change their way of thinking for queers. That's it. And it's got Uncle Bill all upset, all fired up, and ready to go. And so this is the morning show with Uncle Bill, and we'll be back with more after this. Whoop, pushed the wrong button. Sorry about that, folks.
When an irresistible force such as you meets an old immovable object like me, you can bet just as sure as you live. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give, something's gotta give. When an irrepressible smile such as yours warms an old implacable heart such as mine, don't say no because I insist. Somewhere, somehow, someone's gotta be kissed. So on God, who knows what the fates might have in store from their vast, mysterious sky, I'll try hard, ignoring those lips that I adore. But how long can anyone try? Fight, 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 fight it with all of our might. Chances are some heavenly star-spangled night we'll find out just as sure as we live. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give, something's gonna give. Fight, fight, fight it with all of your might. Chances are that some heavenly star-spangled night we'll find out just as sure as we live. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give, something's gotta give. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give. Oh, let's tear it up.
Yeah, and we're back, and that's the way I feel about this whole shenanigans that's going on in today's society. Something's got to give. How much more of this are we expected to take? All right, Frank. All right, Frank. Go back to bed. Go back to bed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You get Frank singing, and you just have a hard time shutting him up. Welcome to everybody, Peggy and Craig and Ryan and Miss Purple Doll is back with us in the chat box. And welcome, Purple Doll, Miss Julie. And yesterday and today, exact as a loading data remark on the left is that their problem, they aren't loaded. Oh, well. Anyway, I really don't even know where to begin anymore. I'm getting to the point with the morning show. What are we going to do with the morning show? Are we in a business here on the morning show of being entertainers, informants, reporters, antagonists, that's the word I'm looking for, antagonists. What should we be here? What do you guys say in the chat box? What kind of what kind of a show should we continue here on BNN? We used to be a positive, upbeat, thinking, reporting type of a morning show. But here lately, it's a mockery. Hypocrisy. It's a mockery. It's hypocrisy. It's everything but logical. Because we can't even speak logically anymore. Because just when you think everything is going right, something blows up in your face. Most of you that are on the listening right now probably didn't listen to our Belvedere City Council meeting last night. And, what a joke. What a joke. People, for those of you that don't know, we had a serious problem here in Belvedere this year because in the early part of the summer, we had a tremendous amount of rainfall. More than our streets, more than our sewers, more than our water table, more than our wells, any more than anything could handle. And unfortunately, and I do feel my heart and soul goes out to these people, they had backup into their homes. The system was just so overwhelmed that they had backup problems. There are things in this life that happen. For example, you're on your way to the doctor and somebody crashes into your car. They ran a red light and they hit your car and totaled out your car. And you didn't have full coverage on your car. Neither did the other guy. So you go to city council meeting and you expect the city to do something about it. They should have done something at that intersection to make it a lot more safer that person couldn't run the red light. Because now I'm left without a car. Now you may seem, that may sound like a little offbeat here, but that's exactly what people were saying last night. So we had a rainstorm. The system got swamped, got overwhelmed with all the rainfall, and little poo-poos showed up in people's basements. Now, I'm sympathetic to the person driving the car that got hit by somebody being careless and running a red light. I'm also sympathetic to the person that has a home that doesn't expect poo-poo to show up in their basement or in their bathroom or wherever, wherever poo-poo comes from. I'm sympathetic to that problem. However, there are solutions to those problems. In fact, the city, in the backup problem, the city is even offering to pay half of your bill for you to take care of the problem, to prevent any backup. And people are still bitching. They're still complaining. They don't, I think out of a room of about, I think they said there was probably 20, 25, I guess about 15 people spoke last night at city council meeting. I don't know how many was actually in the gallery, but about 15 people was all angry and talking out against the city for not being able to protect their house from poo-poo. And I guess out of the group of people that spoke, only 3 people, from what I gather, we'll get Big D on here in a minute to confirm this, but from what I understand, only 3 people actually took the city up on their offer to do something about it. The rest of them, they're not happy with this offer. City needs to pay for the whole thing. It's their fault. So now we're going to blame Mother Nature, the city, on Mother Nature, or Mother Nature on the city. And yet, let's just suppose the city says, okay, we're going to go around Belvedere. We're going to take care of everybody's problem. We're going to go to every house in the city of Belvedere, and we're going to put a back valve, check valve in their sewer system so that poo-poos don't end up in your basement. But we're going to raise taxes 30% to pay for it. Is that going to make people happy? Yeah, maybe some, but maybe, and it's just, to me, it's just not. And then a few weeks ago, they voted down a sidewalk cafe ordinance, which they a week earlier had okayed. They passed it 9-1. And then a week later, they failed to pass the ordinance on a 7-3 vote just because 3 people complained. And you know, some of the stories they made up were made up stories as to what was going on that street. And it was even after their business was closed. They weren't even there, but yet they were complaining and saying that these things were occurring. And nobody picked up on it. Nobody picked up. You close at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You close at 5 o'clock in the evening, and yet you know what goes on at 11, 12 o'clock at night out on the street? Give me a break. And yet 3 doors down, that business, they can have all their wares out on the sidewalk. There's barely enough room for a wheelchair to get through there, but it's okay for them to have all their wares out on the sidewalk. But this guy down here who's trying to create a wonderful atmosphere and a place for my wife and I to go have a nice outdoor hamburger and something, you know, just sit out on the sidewalk and enjoy the outdoor atmosphere, enjoy downtown, meet with some people down there and have a good time. No, we can't do that because somebody's peeing out there on the street. Okay. Yeah. Go across the street. Somebody else has got their wares out on the sidewalk. They're able to sell their wares, but the guy that wants to sell sandwiches out on the sidewalk can't do it. Give me the logistics of that. What's logic about that? Is Uncle Bill going crazy? Is he losing his mind? Absolutely. So's half the other country, the rest of the world. I sent 3 videos out this morning in preparation for today's show, and one of our commentators says that's got me absolutely furious. We'll find out why in just a moment.
Uncle Bill would like to apologize in advance for whatever he may say tomorrow. The Morning Show with Uncle Bill on BNNS Radio.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, chug, chug, chug. If this is how your car is sounding, you need to call 815-544-0537. That's right, my friends. Belvedere Auto Clinic, located 301 West Locust Street, Belvedere, Illinois. Call and ask for Tom. He can make your car run like new. That's right. Belvedere's best kept little secret is Belvedere Auto Clinic. You need to call today, 815-544-0537. Come on, do it now. That's one of our great sponsors down there at 301 West Locust Street in Belvedere, Illinois. Tom and the guys, Mike, and you know, Mike wanted me to, I got a call yesterday that Mike says, I want Uncle Bill to sing the first verse of America. It's awful quiet down here. And it's because the stupid radio went off again. So I went down there and started singing, and they threw me out. I did. I stopped down there and started singing the first verse of America, and they threw me out. And they was scared. I still had, you know, well, I still had my time. But that's one of our great sponsors down there. You can become a sponsor of BNNS Radio, too. If you want to sponsor this angry old man, that's fine. We could certainly use the help. We would appreciate it. 815-544-2967 will get you the details. Or bnnsradio@gmail.com. That'll also get you the details. And 301 West Locust Street, Belvedere Auto Clinic will also get you the results that you want, too. If your car is not running correctly and it's got a clatter, clatter, chug, 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 then take it down there. Tom will make it run like new, and everybody will be happy. You go down and see Tom, you'll come out of there being happy. And that's what we need. Tom is Belvedere's happy pill. He will make you happy. Can't you tell? That's why I'm so happy. Boy, I tell you, if you guys are buying all this, you are really in for trouble today.
Big D, co-host on the morning show with Uncle Bill, right here on BNNS Radio. You'll wonder how you ever got along without him.
Good morning, Uncle Bill.
Good morning, Big D.
This is a rare occasion. I have been listening to you this morning, and I am at a loss for words.
Nobody can follow that one up, my friend.
First of all, do we need to go back to basic biology and explain to you where poo-poo comes from?
No, that's where it originates.
Well,
and I know it's supposed to go. But unfortunately, it must have a mind of its own because it comes back. It's like a bad wife. You know, that you get rid of them and they keep coming back.
Okay. In your part of the country, I guess.
Or a cold. Let's just say it's like a bad cold. You get rid of it and it keeps coming back.
Yeah, it kind of lingers.
Yeah. But but really, am I really being? Hey, just before we do that, we also have Ian with us this morning. Craig is with us this morning, who is sitting there anxiously waiting to vent his anger this morning over the 3 videos that I sent out in prep for the show. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Did you hear that? That's me chomping at my teeth, waiting for me to hone in on this city council and the floating poo-poo thing.
You know, he's Craig's upset. I did some research and found that in a previous life he was a gay gladiator. I was privy to the city council meeting last night, and I guess maybe I'm caught in the same situation, just a different venue. You know, I've always said that a lot of people watch reality TV, Bill, because they want to feel better about themselves. And I honestly hope that the times that I have gone before county commissions and city councils, I sounded a little more intelligent than these people.
I mean, if they really, really honestly had something to complain about, I would be on their side.
Okay.
I really would.
Okay, I can see the problem with flooding, and I understand that the city has done some things that actually, if I understood it right, they did a few things to improve the city.
They've gone above and beyond.
No, that added to this flooding problem.
Like what?
Well, a couple of people mentioned some street down through there. I don't remember what the name of it was, but they said when they moved that street or redirected it, that they didn't really have a flooding problem until that happened. And the city admitted that the retention ponds needed to be cleaned out. And they weren't being cleaned out on a regular basis. But they were quick to defend that they checked their water multiple times daily. But the thing was, there was some ridiculous comments made last night, Bill. One lady actually said, why don't we close the fair and redirect those funds to this project? So it was explained to her that those are not city funds, that those are people who, put money into making that fair go.
That's a private entity.
And her response was, we'll take it away from them and use it for this. No, I'm serious. It's not exactly what she said, but that is the intent of what she said, and it's pretty close. The words "take the money from them" was actually spoken.
Well, and again, I must apologize that I was not privy to the first part of the city council meeting because I had another meeting I had to attend last night, but I got in on enough of it that I know the city has gone above and beyond, and yet I can't imagine what street they redirected. They've had a lot of building going on in the city of Belvedere.
Well, apparently they did because the city council was aware of what she was talking about.
Well, apparently so, and they've done what they can to try to correct the problem. And I've driven around town, and I've looked at retention ponds, and I really have not seen any retention ponds that were in total disarray. And in that serious of a condition. I really haven't. I can't say that I've looked at every single one, but I know where most of the retention ponds are in the south side of the city, where they do have a high water table. Yeah. And when you get the retention ponds as full as they are, and you still have a couple inches of rain coming, where do they expect that water to go?
Well,
retention ponds are only designed to hold so much water.
See, but to me, one of the first things that struck me is if you've got a basement that floods every single time it rains,
and that is not true.
Well, what I'm saying is, this is what some of these people were saying. If you've got a basement that floods every single time it rains, according to some of these people, don't go to the city council. You go back to your contractor, or you call a contractor, one or the other, because you have a serious problem. Uncle Bill, you've got a basement, and when me and Big Mama came out to visit, remember we had that really hard rain? I didn't notice you running panicking.
No. In fact, at one time, we was getting water in our basement, and I found a crack in the foundation, and I fixed it. I didn't run to the city and complain and expect them to come out and fix my crack in my foundation.
Well, according to one gentleman, his basement gets like waist deep half the time it rains. Well, son, you cannot back up your basement to the lake because it's a convenient way to launch your boat. I mean, there were about 15 people talked on this. And not only, and bless his heart, the mayor did his best to keep it under control. But they would talk about flooding, and that conversation would wander all over the place.
You know, this didn't happen until, there was no people speaking out up until the only time we hear from the public is when we have a major episode of rain like we had this year. Or if we have a major winter where we have tons of snow. Like the city is supposed to be able to control Mother Nature. And the only time people come down and complain is when we do have a major amount of rainfall and stuff like that. And it's a very simple solution. Put a check valve in your sewer line, and the city has offered to even pay for half of that. And you should be jumping on it right away. How fast can we get this done?
Well,
I mean, it would only take one time. I mean, literally only one time for that to happen at my house. And somebody would be out there digging a hole the next day to put in a check valve. That would only happen only if one little poo-poo came up in my basement. I would be doing something about it. I wouldn't wait and sit around, and we haven't had rain for over a month. How come it's taken a month for them people to come forward, want something done? I just don't understand. You got to start taking responsibility. You bought the house. It's your house. It's not my house. It's not my responsibility to pay for you to prevent water from backing up in your house when there is a perfectly logical solution out there that can take care of the issue very, very economically. And if the city's willing to pay half, come on, we can't afford to pay everybody or pay the entire bill. And it's not entirely the city's fault. The city has done everything they could to upgrade and improve our storm sewer system. They have dug up streets. They have spent millions of dollars actually to improve the sewerage system in Belvedere. I've witnessed it over the last 40 years, how the city has worked very diligently to improve, but you can only do so much with so much money. And I'm sorry, they have done everything, in my opinion, some past, like everything else, some past administrations probably didn't do their job. But here lately, in the last 20 years, they've made miraculous attempts to get things done and corrected. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the Columbia Street project to take care of that problem, and so on and so forth. And I just give a kudos out to the city. And come on, people, wake up. Take some responsibility to do what you have to do to prevent the problem, and then you won't have to go down and look like an idiot in front of the city at City Hall at a city council meeting.
Well, here's one other thing that just absolutely floored me. The city has paid trained engineers, third-party, private companies to try to figure out how to fix this problem. And yet, and this is not just Belvedere, this has been other city councils that I have gone to. I've witnessed the same problem. People will walk up to the podium, no degree in engineering, no degree in anything, and basically tell the city council or the county commission, you're lying to us. If the county commission is wrong, if the city council, if these engineers are wrong, then pay for your own study by people you trust and carry it up there. But don't make an idiot out of yourself and imply or even come out and tell these council members that they're lying to you.
Well, let me share with you, and then we're going to end this. But let me share with you. I had the same situation with the city. I didn't have a sewer backup problem. I admit that. However, I've had flooding problems around my house, not in my house, but around my house. Fortunately, we've taken care of the problem inside our house so that we don't get the leaks, but we've had flooding on the outside of the house. And I didn't go down to City Hall, I didn't register to speak, and I didn't go down screaming at City Hall members that they're not doing their job in preventing flooding on my property. I did go to the city, though. I went down and spoke to the city public works administrator, and he very politely came out to my property. We took a survey of the property, and he told me some remedial action that we can take to help eliminate the flooding problem. And it didn't cost me a dime for me to get that information. And he gave me some great information on how I can remedy the problem. Now the rest is up to me to either do one of two things. I either ignore what he says and continue to fight the flooding whenever we have torrential downpours, or I can follow his advice and have the right people come in to correct the problem. Is it going to cost me some money to do that? Sure. Absolutely. But at least I'm willing to do what I have to do to eliminate the problem, not just come scream into the city and expect them to come onto private property and correct the problem. And that's another last statement that I'm going to make. It is not the city's responsibility to come on private property to handle a backup problem. If it is a public right-of-way, in other words, if it's the public sewer system that is causing your backup problem, they will fix it. They will fix the problem if it is a city problem. City cannot go on personal public or personal private property to correct the problem. Simple as that. Moving on. Craig, you are chomping at the bit. What's got you so upset this morning?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What is this, a damn Verizon commercial?
Yeah, I was chomping at the bit.
Can you hear me now?
Talk about your topics coming up, but let me add just one more thing to yours, and I apologize if you already mentioned it. I had an emergency I had to deal with. Your comments from the public at City Council last night brought to mind a topic or something that you guys have brought up on the show several times before, and I know that I've even chimed in on it once since I've been doing on the show, and that is personal responsibility. It seems like anymore no one wants to accept their own personal responsibility for things. I have always, Dad taught me a good lesson. When I was 16, I blew the engine on my car and couldn't understand why Dad wouldn't buy me a new engine. And he said, that's why you have savings. That's why I've been telling you to save. I guess I had to be 17 or so because I'd been working for a little while. He said, that is why you save. He said something to the effect of, my savings are not the family savings account. You are responsible for your own
stupidity.
Your own stupidity, that's right. I blew the engine because I was racing. I firmly believe that if I'd have been going across an intersection and someone would have T-boned me that did not have insurance, I firmly believe Dad would have bailed me out or helped with the getting my car up and going again per his expense. Well, nowadays we've got a lot of people that I know for a fact, I've mentioned it before, that they live paycheck to paycheck when they don't have to. They choose to live paycheck to paycheck by going out and buying these $250,000 houses, and they have to have a car that's newer than 4 years old. They have to have all this fancy stuff instead of, fine, if you want to have that fancy stuff, get an education, do whatever you have to do so that you have an income that you can have savings. If you can't have savings, then you're living beyond your means. And of course, there's exceptions to every rule. But I'm talking about in generalities. There are so many people in the Midwest that live beyond their means. They expect mommy and daddy to bail them out. I've got friends that are, well, my age, 55, that still count on mommy and daddy to bail them out, and you can imagine how old their parents are.
Mm-hmm. And made Dr. Phil popular.
A very good buddy of mine, has a son who is, he was born in 82 or 83, and I just learned this buddy of mine is still paying his son's bills. That's the mentality that we have right now. What you talked about, if you have an older home and even a newer home, and there's flooding in the basement, unless it's like Big D mentioned, where there has been a recent change that the city has done to cause the flooding, then I see they have a significant grief. But unless something like that has happened, it's not the city's problem. Put a backflow preventer on. They've been on the market for decades. Get one put on. If you can't put it on, pay to have it put on. If you can't afford to have one put on today, then put $1 away every week. Pretty soon you'll have enough to buy your backflow preventer. But we don't have that mentality nowadays. Could you imagine, Bill, 100 years ago, if you'd have told them that someone would be expecting a city to come up with the money to do this stuff, they would have looked at him and said, "Are you out of your mind? Are you really that stupid?"
Well, I remember living back in Carter Lake, we had one of the popular trees bushes, I should say, that people put in is a lilac bush or a tree, lilac trees. And they are very well known for their root system to seek out water supply. And a sewer line is one of the quickest ways they can find a tremendous amount of water. And back in those days, you had clay tile and not the PVC stuff that you have today that's glued together, but they had clay tile that was put together with, the name escapes me. I said it last night. It's kind of like a fiber that was coated in tar, and they jammed it in around where the two pieces of tile came together. And I can't think of the word.
I've used it and can't think of the word.
But anyway, I mean, when the sewer got backed up, you dug it up and you clean, or you roto-rooted it out, and you got the problem taken care of. They didn't expect the city to come out and take care of the problem for you. And people back in those days accepted, but like Julie said in the chat box, everybody expects everything to be free nowadays. It's always somebody else's fault. And if the city has made a engineering mistake and the grading was improper or incorrect or something to that effect that would cause somebody's house to be flooded, the city will correct it. I know this city. I know this city well enough to know that they will take care of the problem. But when they put in these subdivisions, the engineering reports and the engineering filings that they have to go through just to get a permit and so on and so forth, they're so extensive that I know builders that won't build in Belvedere and Boone County simply because of the regulations that we have. Where other communities are very lax about some things, Belvedere is very, very astute about their regulations. And like I said, I know builders that will not build in Boone County because of their high expectations of quality construction. So I doubt very much if the city would allow some major effects that could possibly, and I'm not going to say it couldn't happen, but, I seriously have my doubts. As well, it's like people out in this one subdivision, and I don't know who to blame for this. I don't know if this is a city problem or whether, but I do know that there was some very highly controlled studies done. They put a subdivision out on the east side of town that was built within the vicinity of a landfill. And now the people are complaining, but because they're getting a feed, what's the gases that comes off of the
methane? Methane.
Methane gas. Now they claiming they're getting methane gas and so on, but these landfills are controlled. They've got methane vents. They've got ways of controlling it, and so on and so forth. But the point I'm trying to make is this. If you know your house is being built next to a landfill and you're worried about it, why would you buy a house there? In other words, if you don't want airplanes flying over your house, why would you buy a house next door to an airport? Or if you know that the glide path for landing at an airport is right under the glide path, why would you put a house there? Why would you buy a house there? I mean, you got to do some research before you make these decisions and be prepared. If you made a bad call, then accept it. It's your responsibility, not the city's. Now, again, I don't know, but I know that there was some major studies and engineering reports that were drawn up about this subdivision, and they from the EPA, they got full clearance to build that subdivision. And they've had studies since then that there's no methane leakage. So I don't know.
Bottom line thing I wanted to say is people need to get back to the old days where you have a savings account.
Yeah, exactly. But that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. Hey, bye, Big D. Are you still with me?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Do you believe that a man can come back as a woman or vice versa?
Why not? Why can't, they believe that people come back as cows in India.
See, I'm not convinced. I'm not a real firm, hard believer in reincarnation. However, I do kind of believe there's some evidence that Dr. Spock has been reincarnated.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. We've got a woman.
That is not logical.
Yeah, well, it's a woman by the name of Dr. Diane Aaronshaft.
Oh.
Well, that should, Aaronshaft. Anyway, in an interview with the Associated Press, the University of California out in San Francisco, Director of Mental Health, Diane Aaronshaft.
Now, wait right there. Repeat that, please. Director of what?
She is the Director of Mental Health.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly.
Diane Aaronshaft claims that a 2-year-old... Now, how many of you out there listening today, raise your hand, has raised a 2-year-old? Yeah, back to just a moment ago, yeah. Peggy mentioned in the chat box about somebody making a bad mistake on their house because they didn't do their research. Anyway, how many of you have raised a 2-year-old? D, I know you have.
I'm married, yeah.
Greg, you had...
Boy,
yes.
That joke went over.
2-year-olds. I raised a couple 2-year-olds.
Debbie says she's still raising a 2-year-old.
She's married to a 2-year-old.
He does a radio show 3 days a week.
What do you mean raising a 2-year-old? She's married to a 2-year-old.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, me.
Yeah, well, that's not raising. That's just...
All right.
Anyway, that's another show. Anyway, Do you believe that a 2-year-old is capable of making gender decisions?
A 2-year-old can't even decide where to poop.
I'm trying to think, what decision can a 2-year-old? What decision is a 2-year-old capable of making on their own?
I'm hungry.
I'm 2-year-olds did you raise at 2 years old knew what that thing was dangling between his legs and what it was used for?
Most 2-year-olds are surprised when liquid comes out of it.
Well, according to Diane Ehrensaft, she says that a 2-year-old child should be able to determine whether or not he or she is a transgender. We expect a 2-year-old to know I am a boy or I am a girl. So why can't that also apply to transgender children?
Oh, I want to hear the reasoning of a 2-year-old. Daddy, I've got boy parts, but I think I'm a girl.
Aaron Saft is a developmental and clinical psychologist as well as the author of The Gender Creative Child. This is not the first instance where Dr. Aaron Saft has advocated allowing young children to determine whether or not they are transgender. She has supported the Rainbow Day Camp. Well, that gives you a little clue where she comes from. She supports the Rainbow Day Camp in Northern California, a camp for transgender youth kids as young as 4 may attend this camp. She noted that the camp has experienced a sea change, maybe we can even call it a tsunami, in the number of little kids showing up with their families. When asked what it means if a young boy wants to wear dresses, Aaron Saft said, well, it meant parents should go out and buy him dresses. What do we know? What we know is you have a son who likes princess dresses. I would say, get him the dresses. Have your child feel free to choose. Maybe they'll stop wearing dresses. Or maybe they'll grow up to be gay. Dr. Aaron Saft suggested ways to determine whether a child is transgender, such as looking at the use of verbs regarding gender, frustration concerning his or her own genitals, and taking gender expansion play seriously, like boys wearing dresses or girls playing with trucks. That means my little sister, and Peggy, you be sure to tell her this, my little sister is a transgender, because when she was a 2-year-old and 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, she was playing with my trucks out in the backyard. That means she's a transgender. And my parents were wrong for not buying her coveralls and making her wear bibs like they made me wear. I enjoyed my bibs, by the way.
Wait
a minute, I'm not done.
Oh,
I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
I'm not done. Another gender expert interviewed was Joanna Olson Kennedy, the medical director of the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. She recommended that parents go away for a weekend with your child in order to learn more about his or her gender preferences. Do it somewhere where you're not going to see people that you know. if that's an issue for you, of course.
Whoa. I got a question.
Do a weekend as a different gender and see what you learn. So let's take our kiddies out to a private area and let's cross-dress so we can determine whether or not our children are transgenders or not. Oh, she also suggested allowing the children to call the shots in terms of their gender and letting them use a different pronoun or wear a dress or other clothing of their choice. Mommy, can I wear my sister's panties today? Oh, sure, honey. That's perfectly fine. Go wear them to school and show them off so the boys can bully you.
Big D, I want that as a sounding button for you. Bill saying that. Can you wear his sister's panties? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm 72 years old and I still haven't decided am I transgender or not, because every once in a while I get the urge to wear my wife's panties.
But now wait a minute. I want to go back to something you said, Bill.
What?
Does she say take the children off for a weekend, and if you're and basically what she's saying, if you're uncomfortable doing this, don't do it around people.
Right. If you're embarrassed by it, don't do it around people.
There are folks in jail for this.
I was wondering if you was going to pick up on that. I mean, what would you do if you were out walking? What would you were doing if you was a cop and you're driving around and you found some people in a dark alley because you didn't want to do it around people, and you were changing your clothes with your little sister or your little brother or your mommy or your daddy?
And mommy and daddy are taking pictures.
Yeah.
Oh!
There's a new Facebook page for you.
Can we see the lines of pedophilia being blurred here? Oh my God! I mean, come on. Let's move the age up to 5 or 6.
I've got a family of transgenders. Peggy enjoyed wearing bib overalls and wearing a greasy rag in her back pocket, fixing boat motors.
Does this? Yeah, I was going to ask. Does this mean that these teenage girls who work on cars are really guys?
According to Feinstein here, or whatever her name is, Aaron Saft. According to her and this other Dr. Joanna Olson Kennedy, according to them, that's a sign of you wanting to be a transgender.
Oh, you wait till I find a few of these little rednecks around here that like to sew their own camo and stuff. Am I going to have fun?
If I wear sheepskin clothing, does that mean I want to be a sheep?
It could possibly, that the same logic.
If I wear alligator shoes, do I want to go out crawling around on my belly and bite people?
Well, we're men. We do that anyway. I don't know about bite people, but we crawl around on our bellies, according to women.
I mean, how... I'm sorry, but I am so wound up because how asinine is this, really?
And here's the thing.
Am I overreacting here?
No, not at all. In fact, I don't think you're acting enough.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here's my thing, though. Not only does this sound asinine to me on the surface, but they don't have to be another gender every day. We've been following this, Bill. You can be a guy one day. You can be a woman the next day. So you know there are guys out there that are already thought about this, think about this. Men can now go benefit on ladies' night at bars.
Well, I'm not going to live this down when I go to have coffee down at Tom's.
What, wearing your sister's panties?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, think about it. How ridiculous is this? One day you can be this, one day you can be something else.
Well, irregardless of that, okay, weirdos are weirdos. We've been dealing with weirdos ever since I can remember, ever since we started body piercing and so on and so forth. And by the way, how come we have never picked up on body piercing as being racist? Because who did the original body piercing? Aborigines. The
American
people
Indians.
from Africa. Huh?
Africans.
American Indians.
American Indians.
Eskimos.
Africans.
Yeah. Why haven't we picked on some of these young ladies and guys that have body piercings all over their body and accuse them of being racist? And why aren't they marching against these people? Because they are mocking slavery or whatever they say. You just go,
Uncle Bill, there's a tribe of people, and one of their tests of adulthood is they build this big tower out of sticks and bamboo. And then the person goes out and he cuts vines. Now, some of you may already know where I'm going with this. It is the original bungee jumping, except they use vines. If they measure wrong, these little skateboarders have never seen a face plant. I think that before you can choose a gender, that we should have some kind of ritual like this.
Well,
because if they can't decide on what gender they want to be, they're a pretty good bet they're not going to be a good judge of how long that vine is.
Well, this is the kind of stuff that we find in the news today, and
speaking,
I'd bet $1 against a donut that what this first gal you mentioned, I'd be willing to bet $1 against a donut that she's not female below the belt.
The other thing is that, and I'm going to make 2 points and then give it up to you guys. Number one is you will probably never see her in an actual debate over this.
No, but she's publishing books. She's putting this information out there.
Yeah.
But Bill, I can publish a book on
I understand.
chromed.
I understand. I understand that. That's freedom of speech.
Well, no. You don't get what I'm going at. You can self-publish. I can publish a book on how to chrome a turd as long as I self-publish. That don't mean that there's a bunch of people out there buying the book.
Well, I understand. But there are people buying these books. There are people reading these books. There are people reading these news stories because they're on social media. This story was on social media. I found it when I Googled it, but it is on social media.
Now,
and so people are reading it, they're sharing it, they're passing it on. And by the way, Peggy, don't make that doctor appointment until after the show. You're not allowed to leave yet. So,
and the other thing is that we've talked about this on the show, Bill. What they don't publish is the suicide rate for a lot of these people.
I don't even want to go there.
No, what I'm saying is the transgender community is that's a dirty little secret, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to say, if you want to know, go look it up for yourself. You will be surprised.
I wouldn't, because I'm not going to tell you why, but
no, I don't think anyone would be surprised how high it is. I think that's pretty well known.
Well, I think most people would say, yeah, I can believe that, because most people know you're not in your right frame of mind, and when you start teaching a 2-year-old that it's okay to be confused about whether you're a little boy or a little girl, they can't help but grow up to be very confused at 15, 16, and they have an urge one day to wear a dress to school. And they do, and they get bullied, they get picked on, they even get sent home. And they don't understand why.
Yeah, see, that's
my mommy and my daddy told me this was okay.
Yeah, see, that's the point, is the transgender community is even smaller than the gay community. I'm like you, Bill, what's going to happen when this kid goes to school and suddenly he or she is getting beat up on a daily basis?
Well, I just happen to believe that I go back to what you said earlier, Dee, and then we're going to wrap it up. But I go back to what you said earlier, that this Dr. Aaron Saft is either a transgender herself or himself, or she's gay, or it's gay. And same with Dr. Olson Kennedy. There's got to be something, or they have raised maybe they're cross-dressers themselves, and they want to pass it on to their children, that it's okay if you want to wear daddy's underwear.
The other thing that I would like to find out, and I'm going to let it go because I'm just going to leave this as a question. I wonder how many of these people are members of MAMBLA, the Man Boy Love Association.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering.
They're the next ones that are going to be added to this LGBTQPPRZY stuff.
It's LGBTNUTS.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with a whole new topic and get off this. I mean, it's kind of in the same trend. And we're going to continue on with, get this, coming to you soon to your neighborhood are gay crosswalks. I can hardly wait. We'll be right back.
Just take those old records on the shelf. I sit and listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco. You'll never even get me out on the floor. In 10 minutes I'll be
Morning Show with Uncle Bill. Like a strong cup of coffee.
Strain through your grandmother's sock.
The best part of waking up is... on BNNS Radio.
Big D, co-host.
Whoops, wrong button. Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, chug, chug, chug. If this is how your car is sounding, you need to call 815-544-0537. That's right, my friends. Belvedere Auto Clinic, located 301 West Locust Street, Belvedere, Illinois. Call and ask for Tom. He can make your car run like new. That's right. Belvedere's best-kept little secret is Belvedere Auto Clinic. You need to call today, 815-544-0537. Come on, do it now.
Whether looking to buy a vehicle or in need of repairs, State Street Auto Rebuilders specialise in restoration, street rod building, collision repair and towing, as well as being a used car dealership and rentals. Located at 420 Fairview Street, Belvedere, Illinois, State Street Auto Rebuilders have been in business since 1982. For quotes and service, telephone State Street Auto Rebuilders on area code 815-544-7013.
And then we are back, and those are two of our greatest sponsors and supporters of BNNS Radio, and that's Tom at Belvedere Auto Clinic and Mr. Kit over at State Street Auto Rebuilders. And each one can complement the other because Tom will make your car run like new and Mr. Kit will make your car look like new. And if you need a way to get your car down to 301 West Locust Street, just call Mr. Kit or call Katie's Towing. Any one of the guys that has the, the right ones anyway, Katie's or Mr. Kit, and they'll tow your car down to Tom's and you'll drive it out of Tom's because he'll make it run like new. And but if somebody runs that red light we were talking about earlier, crunches up your vehicle, call Mr. Kid. He'll come and get your car, take it back to his shop, and make it look like it did before you hit the red light. So, but see, they sponsor and they support our radio station, and you can do exactly the same. All you have to do is give us a call at 815-544-2967, and we'll be more than happy to discuss the details. And or you can send me an email to bnnsradio@gmail.com, and I'll and send me your contact information, and I will call you. It's very simple. And it does take money to keep us on the air, so any little bit helps, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the guys down there at State Street Auto Rebuilders and down at Belvedere Auto Clinic, and that's the one right across from the YMCA. Not the guy on the left, but the guy on the right when you go down by the YMCA. That's Tom and the guys down there. Hi, Mike. Now you can get back to work. Put the coffee down and get back to work, guys. All right. Coming up on this half of the show,
BNNS Radio, because so much is riding on your tires. Wait, what?
Just when you thought it was safe to turn on your computer, and you'll find out that Uncle Bill wants to cry this morning. I really do. I want to cry. Is it wrong for a grown man of 72 years old to cry? Wait a minute, or am I 73? No, am I 72? Let's see, born in 45. 47. No, I'm 72. Someday I'll be 73. And is it okay for a guy like me to cry? Because the LGBTQ WXYZNZ994434, they can do whatever they want. Did you know that? The LGBTQ queers can do whatever they want. And now they are demanding that city paint their crosswalks in the rainbow gay flag colors. And you know the remarkable part? They're winning. So why are we letting them? LGBTQ activists in cities across the country are calling for city officials to create rainbow crosswalks to honor the LGBTQ community. Rainbow crosswalks are public crosswalks that have been repainted in rainbow colors, which have been adopted by the LGBTQ community as a symbol of greater acceptance and rights for the LGBTQ causes and beliefs. Activists are urging local lawmakers to create the crosswalks through the use of petitions. Washington, D.C., our capital of America, already has installed temporary rainbow crosswalks honoring transgenders. And the Atlanta mayor, Kasim Reed, announced this week the city will make its rainbow crosswalks permanent following the circulation of a petition that amassed more than 22,000 signatures. People, that is a lesser amount of American people than lives in the city of Belvedere. And they represent the entire continental United States. And the LGBTQs demand, and guess what? Guess who's paying for that? You are. I am. Craig is. Big D is. Purple Doll. Peggy. You're all paying for this. Now see, here's where I come with this. If the LGBTQ community wants a crosswalk in their honor, so be it. Maybe I'm not so much against it. If they pay for it and they maintain it and they take care of it. But I don't want my money going to honor LGBTQs. I don't have anything against them. If they want to live that lifestyle, that's their privilege. That's their right as an American, a free American. But don't demand that my money be spent on something that I do not agree with or I don't adhere to. You got your way with marriages and all the other malarkey. Now, lay off. Knock it off. I'm sick and tired of hearing from you, and you don't need your own crosswalks. If you do, you pay for it, you paint it, you maintain it, and I will avoid it. But I don't want my city fathers, and I'll be the first one to go down to city council, and I will put together a petition against, if my city decides that they're going to paint the city crosswalks in rainbow colors, I will be the first one to write up a petition and start going door to door against it. And we'll see who can get the most signatures. Now, who were signing these petitions. Anybody want to guess? It certainly ain't the straight people. Again, I don't have anything against them. They're fine people. Some of them work hard. But I don't want to walk in your crosswalk. Come on, Craig. I want to hear from you.
Well, because... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead, D.
I was going to say, this... Because this
go
is...
ahead, Greg. No, go ahead, D. No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go ahead, D.
The ravings of a lunatic mind. I've got that soundbite. It can show back up. This is in my backyard.
Yeah, it is your backyard. It's Atlanta.
But I can tell. Let me clue some people into something that's not in that little news story you read. Bill is absolutely correct. Those 20,000 signatures, I think over half of them didn't even come from Atlanta. There were actually some gay people that were against this. Kasim Reed is doing this as nothing more than a vote-buying ploy. And here's the other thing. This ain't all the crosswalks in the city. This ain't even half or 1/4 or 1/10 of the crosswalks.
Did I fail to mention it's really only one right now?
Well, it's only going, even when in its flourishing, it's only going to be a handful of sidewalks in an area, I understand, in an area called Buckhead.
Well, the one I read was where there was a massive amount of injuries and riots and so forth, and they now have a sign, and again, it's in another story, not in the particular one that I read. But there were several stories published on this crosswalk thing, and some of them are doing to honor the LGBTQs that were killed or injured in the big melee they had, and so it's basically one intersection that they're going to honor in memory of those that were killed or injured. And that part really doesn't bother me. But the point that really does bother me is that it's not going to stop just there. It's not going to stop with just one intersection.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. I and others have looked into this. LGBT can petition Atlanta all they want to. But the design, the paint, and so on and so forth, as set forth by rules and regulations, are set forth by DOT. Now, to a certain degree, DOT is not going to say anything.
Well, if the city's doing it, they have to meet DOT regulations.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure they're going to use the right paint.
Well, they're going to use the rainbow colors. And like I said, into its flourishing, there's going to be a handful. And they're going to be in a very restricted area.
Yeah, but you may say that today, but once they get their way, you know darn well they ain't going to stop.
Well, that brings up another point that I wanted to bring up to you. You know, we hear a lot of news, Bill, about all of the anger and the hatred out there. And if you really have been paying attention, it's only started in the last 5 years.
No.
No. Listen, hear me out. There's always been anger and hatred. I mean, I understand that. But to the level that it is today, it's unprecedented. And I'm a firm believer that it's because the people who really didn't give a rat's patootie before are not upset with gay people. They don't hate gay people. They don't hate a lot of things. They don't hate anything. They're getting tired of having it shoved down their throats. It's like Bill's like you said. 20,000 signatures in a city of over 3.5 million people. If you want to see who really dictates certain parts of Atlanta, it's the gay community. I've lived here most of my life. I know. I've seen this for 20 years.
Well, I can go all the way back to the early 90s, late 80s into the early 90s, that I was in Atlanta. And this is when I was still somewhat naive to the magnitude of LGBT or lesbian gays. But I was down there for a convention. And I was alone. And I was walking around the hotel. And there were these tables out in the hallway, and they were all lined up along the hallway, and they had all kinds of material, reading material on it. And so just out of curiosity and out of boredom, I picked up some of the material to take back to the room to have something to read. And it was all gay, lesbian type stuff. And come to find out that at that same hotel where I was staying, there was a gay convention going on at that time. And now this is back in the late 1980s and 90s, early 90s. So I can go back that far that in Atlanta, they were having a big gay right movement.
Oh, yeah, that's been going on for a long time.
Oh, I mean, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time.
But it's just taken time to boil over.
No.
What do you mean, no?
It's how do I, well, it goes back to what you said earlier. Mayors, governors, people or authorities are finally caving into these demands and these things simply to win back their votes.
But see, what you're seeing now is people are now tired.
All right, we're tired of it, but what can we do about it?
Well,
if I go out there with a brush and a scrub and a can of water and start scrubbing that paint off of the pavement, guess who goes to jail?
Oh yeah, I understand. But what I'm saying,
where's my rights?
And somebody is going to go to jail because as soon as they paint that, I guarantee you, I won't give it a week, and somebody will carry red paint and splash all over it.
I believe that 100%. I'd be willing to bet another $1 against a donut.
It's just that people are getting tired of the small groups in this country getting everything and not, the majority of people cannot go out and protest. The majority of people don't have time to go to every city council meeting. The majority of people just really in this country, and notice I'm not singling out anybody other than the majority of people in this country are not getting heard and have not been heard for a long time.
Well,
And
that's
people,
a good...
No,
You done?
and with all of this crap that has broken loose, it's kind of like the water finally, it's been kind of flowing over the levee, and now the levee's broken.
Well, that's a good segue into my next thing that I would like to authenticate where people stand, is that Texas A&M on September 11th of 2017, they were planning a weekend of White Lives Matter. The rally, which was scheduled, again, like I said, September 11, by a former A&M student who says that he was inspired by the weekend's Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, in a statement on Monday evening, the university said, linking the tragedy to Charlottesville with the Texas A&M event creates a major security risk on our campus, and it added that the day-long event would provide disruption to our class schedule and to students, faculty, and staff movement. So they canceled. So a White Lives Matter day of recognition has been canceled because of what took place in Charlottesville. However, they did not cancel the Black Lives Matter march in Charlottesville that ended in tragedy, which never would have happened if they would have canceled it in the first place. And we know that whenever there's a Black Lives Matter demonstration, march, or protest, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to lead to violence. They always do. However, there's no evidence that a White Lives Matter, of course, there is no evidence because there's never been a White Lives Matter event. Because every time somebody tries to organize one, it gets canceled, stopped, kaput. Julie says she wants all the crosswalks painted purple. Doesn't she have a right? Does she have a right to have a purple crosswalk?
By God, get 20,000 signatures, Julie. I'll sign it.
That's right. Bring that, Julie, start a petition. I'll sign it too. We'll start a campaign here on BNNS Radio to give Julie her purple crosswalk.
That's right. And
now that I won't protest.
And when we take it before the city council, Julie, we'll cite Atlanta.
No, Peggy said she won't sign it because she wants a pink crosswalk.
You know what's funny is, Bill, what the news glossed over. They had a rally or a protest or whatever the night before the incident in Charlottesville. Do you know the cops said they were bored out of their minds? The protesters were actually, I read one story, the protesters were actually giving the cops coffee, and the cops were standing around basically drawing free money. It wasn't until the next day when Antifa showed up. And the violence started within 5 minutes of Antifa showing up.
Antifa?
Yeah, the anti-fascism bunch. The social justice warriors. I said a long time ago, Bill, you asked me, when are people going to fight back? And I said, when they got a gutful. You're seeing it. People have gotten tired.
Oh, so the protest that was held the night before the violence began, what was that protest all about?
They're tired of all these statues being taken down, all the history revision taking place. One group demanding that everybody else's rights be shoved aside for them.
And who organized this rally or event the night before?
You know, that's the thing. According to the news, the only term I hear is white supremacist. And
well, the video that I saw of them tearing down, ripping down a statue, and people running up and kicking it were all white people.
Oh, yeah. If you look at a lot of these protests, I don't care whether it's the social justice warriors or whether it's BLM or what. You see a ton of white people.
It's white guilt.
Guilt from what?
Because if it wasn't for white folk, there would be no slavery in the world.
Which is a lie in itself.
Of course.
And if these people feel so guilty, then why don't you fly to some country, enslave yourself properly, and pay your dues?
See, protesting has been gone on for many, many years, long before I was around.
It was going on in Roman days.
Yeah, it goes clear back to the Roman days, or clear back to the Old Testament. You know, people demonstrated, rioted, created street problems, and so on and so forth. And so it's nothing new, but it's what it has come to that bothers me. I'm not against holding a demonstration. I'm not against holding a rally. I'm not against people standing up for what they believe to be right. Defending their beliefs and so on and so forth. The thing that I am totally against is when the situation starts to get out of hand, like it has over in Europe. Our European neighbors over there, their situations have gotten out of hand, and what do? They bring out the water cannons. They go. They push back. They fight back, and they take down the demonstrators that are creating the problem. But for some reason, here in America, yes, we have a right to speak. We have a right to demonstrate, rally, or hold a peaceful meeting, public meeting. However, we do have ordinances and laws that says you cannot parade without a permit. Yet they do it anyway. And there's no attempt to stop it. Police line the sidewalks so that the observers cannot do anything wrong. So that the people that come out to observe the violence and the activity going on, they cannot become part of it. Because the police are lining the streets, allowing the marchers, protesters, whatever, but then it turns to violence. And now it's out of hand. We're not prepared for. We're not allowed in this country to use water cannons. The only thing they got to their disposal right now is pepper spray. And people come equipped to fight that. We just lost control in this country, and I think we could put a stop to a lot of this malarkey that's going on if we just take back control. But these damn mayors and these politicians that all they're in it is for themselves, protect their vote, protect their seat, or protect their position, they give in to these people instead of standing up like Trump is standing up to the world. And there's a good, strong probability that Trump will never get reelected. Because he stands up to people. And that's what we don't like in this country anymore. We don't like people standing up to the bully anymore. And that's what these thugs are that are out there tearing up the streets and demanding this and demanding that and this, that, and the other. They're bullies. And yet we get preached to all the time that we don't have to put up with bullies. It's not in our society. It's not in the acceptance of society to be bullied. But yet when we let it go on, people grow up to be bullies.
Can I jump in here a second, Bill?
Absolutely, go on.
What did we talk about? We've talked about that subject several times. The tens of millions of dollars that are spent every year in this country supposedly teaching our kids not to bully. Yet they turn on the 6 o'clock news and what do they see?
You know who the biggest bully in this country is today?
Well, it depends on who you ask. So
Media.
Go ahead.
No. I think the biggest bully, the bully that we have today is our parents. Because every time somebody attempts to control their children, every time somebody attempts to control a situation that's out of hand, every time somebody steps forward to enforce the law or whatever, the parents come out of the woodwork. And they start bullying the police. They start bullying the principal of the school. They start bullying the school board. They start bullying city councils. And that's exactly what these people were that protested or argued against the Sidewalk Cafe. These are the same people that argue against poo-poo in their basement. They're bullies. They're trying to bully their way to get the city to do something for them when they know darn right and well that it is not the city's responsibility. All you have to do is look up the code, pull up the ordinance books, and you'll see that it is not the city's responsibility to go on private property and correct a problem. It's very definitive. When we had a sewer backup in our condominium association, when we had a sewer backup, we met with the city scoped it, found out that it was not a city problem because it was not in the main line that we're connected to. It was a problem between the main hookup and the house. So it became our responsibility. Did we fight it? Did we go down to City Hall and bully our way? No. We dug our own hole. We fixed our own problem.
And have you noticed who screams the loudest, Bill? When the bullies themselves get bullied or when they get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
They scream the loudest. It's I really, really think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh, I agree. I agree, because it's become an acceptable. It's become accepted by many, many, many people, and we just continue to turn our eyes the other way. And as long as it doesn't affect me, as long as it doesn't come into my territory, as long as it doesn't affect me or my children, I'm not going to get involved. And that's the attitude we have nowadays. And I don't blame them. I'm not going to get involved either. I've been involved in situations right here in front of me that I will not stand up and speak up and act up because I'm going to be bullied. And I don't want to be bullied.
Well, Uncle Bill... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, we're coming down to the end of the show, and I just want to cover one last detail, and that is the upcoming solar eclipse that's going to take place on August 21st. And I'm sure that many of you listening, most of you probably, have already heard that some of the glasses that are being handed out and given out or bought, especially some through Amazon and so forth, for watching the solar eclipse are defective, and they are not proper, and they're not made for children, they're made for adults. And there's a recall on them now, and I'm just going to join with the other media sources and suggest that you prevent your children from looking at the solar eclipse. Now, there are ways that you can watch the solar eclipse safely. One way that they showed last night on TV, which I have done, and I know it works, is that you punch a pinhole in a paper plate. And you hold that up to the sun and you project. It actually becomes a projector. And you project the solar eclipse onto another paper plate or another sheet. At one time, I think we did this one time. We took a cardboard box and we put a hole in the cardboard box, and of course it's enclosed, and you can project the eclipse on the back of that box. And you can watch it safely that way without injuring your eyes. Now, the one thing that they're saying now is that you don't feel the effects of watching the solar eclipse immediately. But overnight, when you get up in the morning, your eyes are going to be foggy. There was one doctor on TV yesterday saying, I am afraid that when the solar eclipse is over, I'm going to be inundated with patients, because your eyes will be foggy, they'll be glazed over and whatever, because the effect will take place overnight. And
now that brings something else up. We had a solar eclipse, within the last 25 years or so, enough that I was at the office, and to look at the solar eclipse, we went and got some arc welding masks, lenses, and you can look through the solar eclipse through those. I'm not talking about gas welding. I'm talking about arc welding, and you can look through those. Granted, those are a lot tougher to come by for the average person, but what you just said about the eyes the next morning, when I was in welding class in high school, they told us the importance of wearing proper eye protection, and they described exactly what you described. They say the next morning They said you might think it's funny to look at the flashes in welding class. It's see who could look at it the longest and all that. They said the next morning when you get up, your eyes will feel like there's absolutely no moisture in them whatsoever, like there's sandpaper inside of them. And your vision will be messed up for a few days. So that's essentially you're looking. Even though you may think that you can see okay, you're gonna horribly regret it the next day. Spend the extra money on some good glasses, or do like Bill says, do the paper plate. That's what we did when I was a kid.
Yeah,
we did the paper plate.
And really, what is the advantage of looking directly at the sun anyway to watch the moon move in front of it? And in our part of the country, we're not even going to see a complete eclipse. It's going to be a partial.
Well, I've seen both ways. I've seen it through the welding glass, and I've seen it with the paper plate. And personally, I think you get a much better view with the paper plate.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Because everything around you stays bright and you get to see the actual, like watching a mini TV, so to speak. But when you look through welder's helmet, everything's black.
And then the other thing you have to add to this, though, if you've never done the paper plate with the pinhole thing, you don't just put one right on top of the other. You have to focus it like you would a magnifying glass to get it into the right focus. So if you try it and it doesn't look right, first off, don't throw it to the ground. You have to separate. You have to determine the correct distance between the two to get the perfect image. And when you do, it'll be crystal clear.
Oh, yeah. It won't be huge. It won't be large, but you will see it. And you'll get a perfect image of what an eclipse looks like. So it's just a precautionary thing that you need to, and it's a parent's responsibility to make sure your kids, and please do not trust your kids' eyes to a pair of glasses that's just made out of flimsy plastic.
When it comes right down to it, though, Bill, isn't it going to be the same thing as watching just what you talked about yesterday, the concerts? Standing in the front row and
exactly
versus the back, and you're going to get a much better view sitting in front of your television and watching all of the clips.
Yep.
That the news is going to have on there.
Yep. And it's like when I went to the Bulls basketball game, we were up on the nosebleed. We were the last row at as high as you could go. And I couldn't even hear the ball bouncing on the floor. And if you didn't know a player by the number on his jersey, you had no clue who was playing ball. And I would have much rather been sitting in my recliner at home where I could get to a bathroom without having to stand in line, and I could go get a bowl of ice cream or popcorn, whatever I wanted, without fighting any crowds. So, in my opinion, you do much better sitting at home watching it on the tube than going amongst a bunch of screaming loud. And the music was so loud at the fair for Scotty McCreery. Why would you want to put yourself into that position anyway? I wear hearing aids, and I hate it because I was an idiot when I was young. God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for being with us today. This is the end of our show for today. And I'm very, very, very thankful that so far the radio station has played all day without the sound going out at all, and I'm appreciative of that. And I appreciate so much the people that are in the chat. Well, they're all gone now. They don't even stay to the end of the show. But they know what's coming up, and we are at the end of the show. And again, thanks to our sponsors, Tom down there at Belvedere Auto Clinic, Mr. Kit over at State Street Auto Rebuilders, and the Countryside Market up in Poplar Grove. Don't forget to support these people and help them out like they help us out. God bless you. God bless America. God loves you, and so do we. Have a great day. We'll see you back tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the morning show with Uncle Bill. I had to stop and think what day it was. Today's Tuesday. It is. We'll be back again tomorrow. God bless you. Big D.
All right, this has been another 2 hours of the morning show, the ever informative. Yes, join us when we ask the questions that nobody else will, like, why? Huh? That's right. Get out there. We read the news. We actually look at the words and think about them. Hey, on behalf of Uncle Bill, the owner, proprietor, he's everything from the CEO to the janitor. He's a one-man band here at BNNS Radio. We'd like to thank Craig, our crack researchist, and just general all-around good guy, and me, your co-host, Big D. Y'all get out there, take care. Remember, God loves you, so do we. No matter what side of the fence you're on, you're not alone. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, but no one laughs, 'cause there ain't nothing funny when a soldier cries. And I just wipe my eyes. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work. And it keeps me driving on, waiting on. Letters from home.